In this video, we are going to talk about MOG, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of MOG to go in the coming days and weeks. So we'll start by looking at the weekly chart, and what we can very clearly see here is that right now we are at this crucial support area that is basically the low from back in April. This is really the last support area for MOG to hold, and breaking below it would lead to MOG getting significantly lower, and MOG losing this area would be absolutely devastating for its price. We have been fighting with this area in the last few weeks. We can see here that MOG in the last month or so has basically just been consolidating. This is not a great sign considering MOG approaching this crucial support area and Bitcoin actually getting a relief rally in the last few weeks. We've seen Bitcoin go all the way down to 80k and since then recover to over 90k. And despite the significant relief by Bitcoin, MOG actually barely moved at all. We only saw one green candle and it was very small, and MOG's price basically didn't move in the last month. This is a clear continuation of MOG's weakness in the last few months. We've seen MOG dump since about July. MOG dumped a lot despite Bitcoin actually doing very well as well as the rest of the crypto market, at least for a few months. From July to October is when the all-time high for Bitcoin was. MOG dropped about 60% from the July high leading up to the Bitcoin all-time high, and such a poor performance by an altcoin despite Bitcoin and most other altcoins doing very well is certainly a strong sign of weakness and a very bad signal. Another thing to note is that this was very clearly a lower high followed by the high back in December of 2024, and also the April low was a slightly lower low, both compared to this low back in September of 2024 and the low before that back in May 2024. So we very clearly had an uptrending channel for Mogcoin back in 2024, and then since then in 2025 we've had a structure reversal. We had a lower low followed by a lower high, so we are very clearly in a downtrending structure in 2025, and there is absolutely no sign of a structure reversal back to the upside. If MOG does lose this area of support at the April low, the next area of support to look at would be this trend line. But if MOG only gets a recovery all the way down at this trend line, this would be a drop of another 45% or so, and as I said, it would be absolutely devastating for the price of MOG, and even then it would likely only lead to another lower high, and MOG structure is really not looking good in my opinion. Of course, MOG is an incredibly volatile meme coin and it is a very small market cap coin as well, so its volatility is absolutely insane and it is very unpredictable. So despite it looking so bad right now, I could be making another update about it in just a few weeks and the entire structure could completely change, but I think that that is incredibly unlikely at the moment. I think that in general most altcoins will likely not do so well, at least until Bitcoin starts doing very well again and Ethereum approaches new all-time highs. Right now, with how poorly Bitcoin is doing, despite its recent relief rally, it is still significantly below its all-time high, and there is a lot of concern about the bear market already starting. So if the bear market already started, then in my opinion, MOG really doesn't have any chance at all, and it will likely continue dropping a lot further during the bear market. But if we are still in a bull market and we can see Bitcoin getting a significant relief rally followed by Ethereum and the rest of the crypto market, and we get a period of euphoria followed by an alt season, then I think that MOG does have a very good chance of actually getting a rally. But even then, I still really doubt that MOG is going to get a new all-time high. Since the structure of MOG is still very poor, I think that a decent target for a significant rally for MOG would be to this trend line. This seems pretty reasonable. If we do get a bounce very soon from the area that we are at right now, or perhaps if we go all the way down to the trend line and then get a bounce from there, then the price of MOG going all the way up to this trend line seems like a decent target. Of course, this would be an absolutely incredible rally of over 500%, but again, with such a small market cap meme coin and its incredible volatility, it is completely possible if we do get an alt season and the MOG participates in that alt season. But at least in the short term, I am still expecting most altcoins to not do so well, and especially MOG with its structure still looking so bad. I think that it is still very likely that MOG will continue dumping further, perhaps all the way down to the trend line, or at least if Bitcoin does continue its relief rally and does well, then MOG will likely lag significantly behind it and underperform it and not do so well, so I'm not too optimistic for Mogcoin at the moment, and I would personally avoid it. Of course, this is not financial advice whatsoever, it's just what I personally think. That's going to be it for this update. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about Mog, as well as other meme coins, altcoins, and the entire crypto market, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.